This land we call home has a rich and varied history stretching back thousands of years. But hidden below the surface are some amazing treasures just waiting to be found.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. That's really cool.
So each year across the country, archaeologists dig underground and dive underwater, searching for fresh discoveries.
The most amazing thing in British archaeology.
Uncovering traces of ancient lives.
Somebody's pride and joy, I'm sure.
And finding fascinating objects.
Such exquisite detail.
This year, I'll be meeting the archaeologists and looking at some of their most incredible finds.
I mean, that is stunning.
Well, Dr. Tori Herridge is travelling the length of the country to some spectacular locations.
Where I'll be dropping in on some of this year's most fascinating digs.
Oh my gosh, can you see that?
It's just brilliant.
Oh my goodness.
Every dig provides a new piece in the puzzle of Britain's forgotten past. This is the epic and unfolding story of our islands. Welcome to Digging for Britain. This week on Digging for Britain, archaeologists in the Cotswolds
Oh, it definitely opens, doesn't it?
unearth a unique find.
We could see this carved bone object. I've never seen anything like it before.
A dig at the University of Oxford
We've just been uncovering loads and loads of pure, untouched medieval archaeology.
shows student life hasn't changed much.
We have a pier, and we're calling it currently Smoker's Corner.
And in Kent,
Wow. That is plated gold disc brooch.
archaeologists discover spectacular Anglo-Saxon burials.
A child with weapons, which is extraordinary.
Over the centuries, the sea has shaped so much of the story in these islands. And it was in the shipyards of the south coast that Britain's position as a naval power was forged, as our first dig shows. We're heading to the New Forest and the village of Buckler's Hard, 12 miles south of Southampton. Buckler's Hard sits on the banks of the River Beaulieu, surrounded by ancient woodland. It was perfectly positioned to become a vital centre of shipbuilding. When Britain's imperial ambitions were expanding at the end of the 18th century. Tori is finding out more. This place is beautiful. These two lines of idyllic cottages run straight down to the river. But had you come here just 200 or 300 years ago, and this quaint and sleepy little scene would have looked totally different. A bustling hive of activity, a centre of modern manufacturing, where some of Britain's most important and famous ships were built.
By the 18th century, Buckler's Hard was a thriving shipbuilding hub. And at the centre of it all was master shipwright Henry Adams. He and his sons oversaw the building of an incredible 55 ships. Perhaps the most famous was the HMS Agamemnon, captained by a young Horatio Nelson early in his career. It was while on this ship that he lost the sight in his right eye at the Battle of Calvi. Nelson would be reunited with the Agamemnon when it formed part of his fleet at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. 4 years later, while on a mission in South America, the Agamemnon ran aground off the coast of Uruguay and was abandoned. Archaeologist John Adams is leading a team investigating the construction and later demise of this mighty ship. To do this, they're excavating the slipway where the HMS Agamemnon was built.
They do say that to build a really big ship in the great age of sail, it needed 100 trades and crafts to come together to produce all the components of a big warship. And so building ships here set in train a whole load of satellite industries. And of course it needed a huge labour force.
You need 100 trays to build a ship, but how many trees do you need?
30, 40 acres of mature oak forest for a 64-gallon ship. And so a lot of the timber that built HMS Agamemnon, for instance, came from the New Forest.
So this slipway here, it's under the water now. Would
It
it have been
is,
under the?
it
Would
is.
would it have gone into the water deliberately for tidal purposes,
It
or
would,
had
because
it
as you're
sunk?
building the ship on a slipway,
Yes.
you've got to then slide the ship into the water. So the slope has got to be precise so that you don't have the ship breaking away on its own halfway through building. Conversely, that it will move when you want it to at the end of the building process. And both the things happened, so by experience, they worked out the right angle.
Okay, so what could this tell us that you don't already know?
Well, we've got slipway structures from this period in other shipyards, but most of them are under bricks and concrete. So here we've got the entire structure that has essentially been left since the major shipbuilding finished after the end of the Napoleonic Wars.
But is there anything that this can tell you that a historical document can't?
Well, what they proposed and what they actually did are two different things. And we see that all the time. When they actually come to do it, the real world imposes. So the archaeological reality is always slightly and interestingly different from a lot of the historical, theoretical stuff.
Rodrigo Ortiz Vasquez is part of the team excavating the slipway, with the aim of working out how such vast ships could be supported in the soft clay riverbed.
So one of the things that you look at this timber is that it's been really, really nicely worked underneath. It's very flat. It's been laid on top of a gravel layer that they've been digging out. Yeah. So they've really thought how to keep it from sinking.
It's so much more than just hacking down some massive trees and shoving it in the mud.
Oh, absolutely. And if this goes wrong, if this is not laid properly, the whole ship is not going to be built correctly. So this is really important stuff. And it's still in place, This is from the 1700s and it's still there.
The architecture of the slipway is helping the archaeologists understand how the Agamemnon was built. And some of the smaller finds offer a tantalising connection to the ship, including copper plating that would have been used to protect wooden holes from shipworm and barnacles.
Yes.
Square nails would be going through. So this would be fastened to the side of the ship to basically create an anti-foul layer. So this is definitely contemporary to all the shipbuilding.
How do you know this is contemporary with the Agamemnon period?
Well, this has got like a very particular way of being rolled out, and you've got marks that look like old tool marks. And also the main giveaway is these square nail holes that are those there. Okay. We've got this bundle of square nails that were found together.
So it would have gone in something like that?
Exactly, yeah. You have other big finds. This is definitely, shipwright related, like this. That's a big iron fastening nail. Yeah.
Fastening nail.
Some of them would be even longer, they had to fasten two things together, two big timbers.
So a double layer timber.
Exactly.
Other small finds are helping Rodrigo build a picture of the industry and who was working here.
Other stuff that we have contemporary are these clay pipes.
Yes.
This was definitely being, smoked by somebody who was working on the ship. Other really exciting things here is this. This is called part of an onion bottle.
What was in it?
Well, it could have been port, it could have been wine.
So this is all coming out of the mud around the slipway.
Exactly.
And what you're seeing here is a workforce that seems to be smoking and drinking on the job.
Well, it did happen, yes. And also, you got to think it was quite a big workforce, so you have hundreds of people working at the same time. So unavoidably, they would break stuff and just throw it on the side.
The slipway is helping archaeologists understand the Agamemnon's origins, but they also want to learn more about her end. Her remains have lain off the coast of Uruguay since 1809. It's the only surviving wreck of a ship built at Buckler's Hard. So diving this piece of maritime heritage has been crucial to the archaeologist's research.
This is the timber. This is the famous timber, and I'm touching history here.
Mary Montague Scott, director of Buckler's Hard Maritime Museum, was part of the dive team.
So you're on a mission to piece together the history of the Agamemnon, I guess.
Absolutely. So this is to honour this incredible ship that was Nelson's favourite. And he was on it for 3.5 years. It's where he lost his eye at the Battle of Calvi, and he writes about it as his favourite ship. It was the one where he had success, and then he took that success on to become our leading, admiral in history.
What kind of ship was the Agamemnon?
She is a 64-gun Ardent-class ship, and they were designed by the famous designer Thomas Slade, and he produced these drawings. They were given this same set of plans to all the shipyards to build from, which is amazing because they're not that detailed, but they just knew how to build ships.
So you have these plans. This is almost like the basic blueprint, but it's not the whole story.
Yeah, and that's where the archaeology comes in.
Exactly where the archaeology comes in.
Mary and the team were able to map out key features of the Agamemnon on the dive.
This is the cannon balls. Look at those. You can see these big concentric balls, and they are all concreted together by age of time.
The dive was a rare chance to gather as much information about the ship as possible, because the wreck is under threat.
It was covered by mussels that have been recently eaten by an invasive whelk, and so that has uncovered the wood for the first time.
Okay, so now it's exposed again to
It's more exposed and always vulnerable to bounty hunters, and over time people do take things. So recording it now, before it disappears, is the best way to do it.
Mary was able to rescue some incredible artifacts from the decaying hulk, helping us understand how the Agamemnon was constructed.
This is a piece of the copper plating that covered the entire hull of the ship. And there were 3,000 pieces of copper sheet that went onto the Agamemnon.
These little broad arrow marks are they're so fresh. It's 200 years ago that was cut in there. And this is sitting on the seafloor and it's still there now. Brilliant. It's just lovely.
The finds, both on land and at sea, are certainly helping us understand the construction of this mighty gunship. But with further dives of the wreck planned, the investigation into how the Agamemnon was built is far from over.
The British landscape is peppered with reminders of how our ancestors honoured their dead through the ages.
Burials are not just about death. They tell us a lot about how people lived. And now we're returning to a site that I visited last year where some incredible new finds have been discovered that cast light on people's status, their identity, and even family connections.
For our next dig, we're returning to rural Kent, 10 miles south of Canterbury. In the centuries after the Roman army left Britain in 410 CE, new kingdoms would emerge across Britain in the early medieval period. There are so few written records from this time that historians used to call it the Dark Ages. But archaeology can illuminate this period In Kent, a team from the University of Lancaster has been excavating this extraordinarily rich cemetery for the last 3 years.
Hi, Alice.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, yes.
You've been hunting Anglo-Saxons again?
We've been hunting Anglo-Saxons again, and we've found some.
Last year, I joined lead archaeologist Duncan Sayer and his team as they uncovered some astonishing finds.
There you go, there's a knife.
Isn't this the best Anglo-Saxon sword you've ever seen?
I've never seen anything like that. That's so well preserved. Wow, she's got so many objects buried with her. I can see beads. There's glass beads here.
The team shone a light on the Anglo-Saxon people who lived here.
Been a bit of a black hole as far as history is concerned.
It's often called the Dark Ages.
It is, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're really getting close to these people, aren't we?
This year, Duncan and the team are back at the same site, excavating an even larger area, revealing several high-status burials spanning the 5th to 7th centuries. They're starting to suspect that these graves could have contained members of one powerful Anglo-Saxon dynasty. And this extraordinary burial is the first piece of evidence.
So if the size is anything to go by, this grave is massive. So he's an important guy.
You can see that he is not much shorter than I am. He is probably around 6 foot in height, which is an astonishing thing for the 6th century. He is quite an old chap, and I think that's part of why he is so well furnished with weapons. We've got a shield boss, but what's astonishing about this shield boss is that we've got a series of rivets here and here. So these go through the shield board. We don't see those, they're not very common at all, so it's a decorated shield. And next to him, with his arm over the top of it, all the way across here, we can see this sword.
Anglo-Saxon swords are quite rare and considered to be a marker of status. But Duncan is also interested in the placement of the weapons in the grave.
The spear across that line of his body, all the way down here, and that emotive, almost hugging of the sword there is a real characteristic of these 6th century burials. I think it shows how important that object was to him and to the community. So we're probably looking at an elder, a leader, a significant member of this sort of elite family that are buried here. And of course, in this cemetery, we've got probably 6, 7, even 8 generations.
Not far from this grave of what seems to be a significant individual, the team find a smaller burial.
It's a young person, it's a child, but we can age it quite specifically because we've got these unfused ends here to the long bones. So we can suggest that this probably boy is aged between about 12 and 14. So a child with weapons, which is extraordinary. Is this about rites of passage, or is he buried as the man that he would have become?
Most of the individuals in this cemetery are male, but in one grave, the skeleton of a young woman is found with impressive grave goods. The archaeologists are wondering if all of these people could have belonged to the same prominent family. Student River Busby and archaeologist Andrew Richardson are just lifting an object that looks very special.
Okay. Wow. OK. That is a plated disc brooch.
That is stunning.
That is going to be very late 6th century or very early 7th century, around about 600.
It's just incredible to see and to get the chance to excavate, and is just truly incredible.
You were the first person to see the front of that
Yeah.
for 1,400 years.
Yeah. that is phenomenal. To get to experience that is once in a lifetime.
So they're using exotic raw materials, garnets, which might come from as far afield as Sri Lanka, gold, silver. None of this can be naturally sourced in Kent, but they're making a distinctively Kentish object. And almost certainly they're being distributed as gifts by the Kentish royal dynasty. So her wearing that is a symbol of her connection to that dynasty.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. You've got all the little gold circles in there.
Yeah.
And you've got the 3 garnets. Wow. What a magnificent find. You know, first skeleton.
Yeah.
First ever dig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all downhill from there.
Duncan and site supervisor Gemma Sweeney have brought some of this year's remarkable finds to the tent.
What have we got here? We've got a child's burial.
Yeah, he's between 6 to 8 years old, and he's still got a lot of baby
But what,
teeth.
by the look of the size?
Yeah, he's
this
absolutely
individual.
he's tiny.
But what he's got, or what they have got here, is this absolutely
That's
massive...
a buckle.
That is a belt
Can
buckle.
I hold that?
You can, absolutely.
What's it made of,
It
Duncan?
is made of silver. It's a solid silver belt buckle. So it's not only a big buckle for a small child, it's got a precious metal artifact. And you can see this is decorated.
Yeah.
There's little ring and dots all the way around the interior placement of that enamel, which is lovely.
It's really unusual to get grave goods and
Big,
high-status grave goods.
absolutely precious metal artifacts like that with a child
yeah.
is really interesting. And it's part of the same story that we have with this child.
How old is this
Decorated
individual
shield.
to begin with?
Between 10 to 12 from
Okay,
dental, yeah.
And you've got weaponry.
We've got a weaponry. So we've got a shield boss with studs. So it's a decorated shield boss.
So it's the kind of grave
Child.
goods that you would expect with an adult male
With an
burial.
adult, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is going to have to be the question. Were these people buried with the artifacts of the families they're associated with, or the people that they were going to become if they became adults?
Yeah,
so
this is...
there's a symbolic role here to these decorated weapons.
And you've got 3 swords.
We also have 3 swords.
So
one
putting the
last
one
year, 3
from
this
last year to shame.
So this here is the scabbard mouth, effectively the scabbard
Oh, is
opening.
it? Okay, yeah.
That's made of copper and it's gilt, so it's got this gold over the top of
Yeah,
it.
just gleaming through.
Exactly. So what's interesting about this, we've got objects of different dates.
Ooh.
So probably something that is 6th century and something that's a bit earlier, maybe late 5th or early 6th century,
Yeah.
coming together to make one composite object that is a sword.
So an old sword with a new scabbard, maybe?
They really like old swords.
So do you think the blade of the sword would have been new, and then it's got old decoration on it?
I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to make it look like it was Grandad's sword, because Grandad's sword was given down
Yeah.
through that line. Maybe Grandad's sword is with him in the grave.
Oh, okay.
So he could be buried with a sword and take the bits of it off and put it on a new sword. So a sword almost has 2 lives, one in the afterlife in the grave, and one of them
Yeah.
in the above ground community as well.
I mean, you start to think about dynasties, don't you? You start to wonder whether you've got an extended family through time in that cemetery.
We often forget that, don't we? We call it, we
Yeah.
accidentally call it the Dark Ages a generation or 2 ago.
Yeah.
But there's nothing dark about any of this.
It's dark historically,
Well, 'cause
but
it's
not
history, but
archaeologically.
yes,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
Yeah.
I dreamt I flew with the saints last night. I know them all by wing size, and up there it just doesn't count for naught whether you're clever or wise.
From historic cathedral cities to spa and university towns, the South has plenty of historic urban centres. And beneath their streets are traces of the people who once lived there.
Our next dig is a really unusual one, taking place in an Oxford college. And the archaeologists were really limited in terms of where they could dig and how big the trenches could be. It was a bit like keyhole surgery, but they got an astonishing glimpse of student life through the centuries.
This dig takes us right into the heart of Oxford's dreaming spires. Today, Trinity College is part of the university, a thriving centre of learning, just as it was 700 years ago in the medieval period. When it was first established in the late 13th century, this site was known as Durham College and was a place of learning for Benedictine monks. The college's heating system is being updated, which involves drilling boreholes into its iconic lawns. But before they can make changes to these historic grounds, archaeologist Jamie Williams has been given a rare opportunity to find out how student life has changed over the centuries.
In the last few weeks, we've just been uncovering loads and loads of pure, untouched medieval archaeology in the centre of Oxford, which is pretty rare, pretty cool.
Jamie filmed his discovery of medieval finds, including thimbles, clasps used to protect the pages of valuable books, pottery, and even some jewellery.
The medieval ring was just it was amazing. It's very personal. Like, the ring is such a personal piece of history. I'm sure they were gutted that they lost it, but I'm very happy that I found it.
But the peaceful order of Oxford's religious colleges would eventually be disrupted. The Reformation saw the closure of this Benedictine monastery in 1538. Then, in 1555, wealthy landowner Thomas Pope established Trinity College on the same site. Jamie wants to find out how daily life might have changed for Trinity's new students.
With the gap of the Reformation, the college went from being almost like closed-off place for monks to a place of learning with Trinity College. And the finds kind of represent that, because you can have these like imported wares and students coming in from all over Europe, and you start to feel like this closed-off world has just become a more open place for learning than it was before when it was a monastery.
And Jamie's finding plenty of evidence that the students of 17th century Oxford were quick to jump on a new trend.
Some of the finds we're finding in huge quantities are some of the clay tobacco pipes, which basically are like single-use vapes now, you know. They would have put the pipe, broken off the length they wanted, thrown that on the floor. We actually have a pit which is just outside the college gates, and it is just completely filled, and we're calling it currently Smoker's Corner because it's the closest point you can get to the grass where you would just chuck which are effectively single-use vapes, just into the rubbish pit. So that probably would have been where they were doing a lot of the smoking back in the day.
Now that he's carried out some post-excavation research, Jamie has brought his finds to the tent to tell me more about Trinity College's past residents.
We had a lot of layers.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an urban archaeology dig on a rural site, but in the centre of Oxford. So it was kind of an odd one, but it was really, really fun to untangle.
Yeah, and you've got some amazing objects. So take me through them then. What have we got here? Are these the earliest ones?
We got some lovely little book clasps.
That is so sweet.
Might still have some remnants of some wood in this one as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which is really cool.
Do you know when within the medieval period these might date to?
13th century, but obviously the book could have deteriorated, or they could have fallen off years later, you never know, so.
It's just this amazing history of learning at Oxford.
Yeah.
I love it, I love it. So do you think that was a fairly smooth transition then, from it being a Benedictine college, you know, a place of learning, to then being refounded?
Well, there's a 10-year gap between when it was refounded, but it's definitely gone from this sort of ecclesiastical closed-off space where monks would have learned, and then you have Trinity College, which would be more open to the public.
What's that? Is that a glass?
Yeah, so this is just an example of some of the high-status glass that you had on site. That probably would have been somewhere around 17th, 18th, 19th century.
There's some fine dining going
It's
on
a lot
in
of fine
colleges.
dining, yeah.
Some of the artefacts Jamie found shone a light on Trinity College's enterprising neighbours.
These are glass bottle seals, so they would have been stamped onto the bottle when the bottle was made, and they have some initials in. So this is WMA, it's William and Anne Morrell, and the crown represents the Crown Tavern, which is the pub it actually came from.
How do you know these names?
Because, well, they are documented on licenses. So Anne Morrell, she actually applied for a 10-year licence to sell wine in Oxford in 1659.
So you've matched this up with historical records?
Yes, because she took out a liquor licence in her own name. She was a widow at the time. And then she married William Morrell. And in 1660, with the restoration of the monarchy, they changed the name to the Crown Tavern. 19 years after, so in 1679, Anne was widowed again. But
Right.
she ended up, this is lovely, this is a glass seal. This is from when she was widowed for the second time.
Oh my goodness, so we're getting these snapshots of her life here.
Yeah, so she's still running the pub. This is 1687. She died in either 1695 or 96, and she ended up handing the pub down to her daughter-in-law. I love this sort of stuff. I love the history. It's something that you can actually like grasp and go home and look at, and it's just, yeah.
Amazing to have so many beautiful finds that
Yeah, well-
give us a little window into this history of the Oxford colleges. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let blisters be teachers, with blessings bestow. Let the darkness restore us as seers. I'll make these pathways my companion, be witnessed by what cannot be seen. Be peregrine, be pasture, be tiny, be vaster. Be as soft as green moss, and be free.
I am fascinated by burial archaeology, by what human remains, human bones can tell us about people in the past, and then the objects that are buried with individuals as well. They can tell us about culture, community, and individuals. And at this next dig, one person was buried with an object that is so special that at this point in the investigation, we think it's completely unique.
Our next dig takes us to the village of Broadway in the Cotswolds, 20 miles south of Worcester. Broadway is often called the jewel of the Cotswolds, and it was in this idyllic village that just over a century ago, pioneering female archaeologist Nancy Smith led the discovery of the remains of ancient ditches, buildings and burials thought to date to the Roman period. The site excavated by Nancy Smith is now earmarked for development, but before construction can begin, a team from Worcester Archaeology are investigating what may still be hidden underground. Initial surveys suggested that they might find a handful of isolated burials, but the archaeologists soon realised that they were dealing with a vast Roman cemetery. Jamie Wilkins has been leading the investigation.
In total, we've had 76 graves, but most of them have been localised to this area here. And as you can see, some of the grave cuts around us. This is really, really significant. To have such a dense cemetery, nothing's been seen in the county before like this. To find such a large cemetery on this site is really interesting because it gives us quite a large population sample of the people who were living and working in this settlement.
Some of these burials seemed very unusual.
We've also had a really high number of what we'd class as deviant burials. Some of our deviant burials have been decapitations, and we might have seen the skull placed by the feet or by the knees, and some where the skull hasn't been in the grave at all.
Deviant or irregular burials are simply those considered to be unusual. That might include decapitated remains or a body buried face down. It's easy to assume this relates to punishment in some way. But some of these graves suggest that something different may have been happening here, and one particular burial has grabbed Jamie's attention.
When we first started excavating that grave, we could see this sort of carved bone object underneath the skull.
This is the grave of a female individual buried face down. And there's an artefact under her skull. The archaeologists filmed the moment this remarkable item was recovered.
And we could see this circle dot pattern, and it was really quite exciting.
Oh, it's definitely open, isn't it?
To find an object like that does not happen every day. I've never seen anything like it before. What we could see on site was that this box was still sealed, and so we weren't prepared to open the box on site.
Jamie knew this mysterious box was something very special, and in fact, it's unique. Nothing like it has been seen in British archaeology before. And in the lab, it was finally time to open it and look inside. Jamie and his colleague Laura Griffin have brought in that extraordinary find and a few others.
Where should we start, do you think?
Should we start with the centrepiece?
With this incredible artefact. I've never seen a box like this before.
No, I can't find any other examples that look similar at all.
Really?
You get wooden boxes that have bone veneer strips on them that are decorated with ring and dot decoration, but we haven't found any examples of a solid bone box. It comes really quite smoothly. Yeah, it slides backwards. It's really got a smooth action on it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so beautifully made. Was there anything in it?
We had it x-rayed.
Yeah.
And it looked like there might be something in it, but it turned out just to be soil.
I mean, you imagine there must have been something that meant something to somebody, just something special.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really interesting about the box is it was deposited as a grave good.
It has meaning then, doesn't
absolutely.
it?
Absolutely. It was definitely special to that individual. And we believe that they were a young female, 25 to 30.
Right.
And the pathology on the skeleton indicated that this female had some inflammatory reactions on the arm and the leg.
OK.
So it's tempting to think that maybe this box contained like an ointment or something that maybe they would have been using on themselves.
I mean, we can only speculate in the absence of evidence from the box itself.
Absolutely.
But it's a good suggestion.
Because
she's got inflammatory changes in the bones.
Absolutely, and because the box was empty and the soil was described as being quite greasy, you know, we're not sure whether there might be a link there.
Oh, who knows? It's so curious, isn't it? And it's a beautiful thing, and then you've always got more questions and you can't answer them. Can I pick it up?
Yeah.
So it is actually really robust and robustly made out of a single bone. So I can see that actually it's not panels joined together, is it?
It's a single.
And do we know what kind of bone it is?
We've had it tested and it's come back as roe deer.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. Let's have a look at some of the other artefacts, though. I mean, it does look stylistically connected with things like bone combs.
This comb was also from the cemetery. We think it's a similar date to the box.
These bone combs, I absolutely love them, and they do go through time. But this one is actually quite ornate, isn't it, compared with others?
It's got stylised horse heads on the end plates.
And do we know when that dates to?
From the sort of later 4th century.
So late Roman?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got some copper alloy objects as well.
This brooch was from a grave next to the grave that this one was in, and there's some idea that they're associated with each other.
Right.
But brooch is much earlier in date.
OK.
So the brooch is 1st to 2nd century.
Oh, wow.
In a 4th century cemetery,
Yeah.
which would suggest that it's a treasured item, again, that has passed down.
It's an antique.
Through,
it's an heirloom.
Through the generations.
Yeah.
Now, the cemetery has already thrown up some surprises, but you've got some unusual burials too.
Around 20% of our burials in the cemetery are what we might call alternative burials.
Yeah.
And this includes decapitations, but also prone burials, where the individual has been buried lying face down.
It's very easy to assume that there's something about those burials which is odd and perhaps even sinister.
Absolutely. But actually, we're seeing a lot of these alternative burials with grave goods, which might indicate that it's not a punishment, it's just a practice.
Yeah.
So, for example, the grave which contained the box here, this was a prone burial. That young woman was buried face down, and that box had been deliberately placed under her right cheek, underneath the skull.
Yeah.
Burial which contained that lovely bone comb, this was a decapitation burial. The comb had been placed at the top of the vertebrae where the skull should be.
It seems to be that it's part of a respectful way of burying somebody, if you've got grave goods in there as well.
Potentially, yeah. And what's interesting is that whilst it's not exclusive to Britain, it does seem to be something that characterises Romano-British cemeteries, which is really interesting.
It's absolutely fascinating, and there will be more fascinating details to emerge. And indeed, more details did emerge when Worcester Archaeology expanded their dig. Right next to the cemetery, they uncovered a vast Roman settlement.
It covers quite a large area, over 4 football pitches in total. The sheer density and quantity of archaeology was massively unexpected.
And another mysterious bone object has appeared from the ground.
A couple of days ago, we made this really exciting find. This was caked in mud, and we couldn't really see anything other than it's just being another fragment of animal bone. But then as it started to dry out, the holes were revealed. And what we actually think this is a carved bone flute. I've never discovered a musical instrument on site before. It's really quite special, and it gives us that human connection. Perhaps this was played more in leisure and for fun, rather than what we see across the rest of the site, which is just work.
With just a fragment of this ancient instrument surviving, Professor Stuart Pryor is investigating how it would have been made and how it might have sounded.
I'm interested in experimental archaeology, recreating how artifacts might have been made in the past. That's amazing. And I've got plenty of experts to call upon to lend a hand. Dr. Simon Wyatt, an expert in ancient music, is going to help me explore how this piece of bone was turned into an instrument.
With this end missing, we cannot be sure how it was sounded at all. But we can do some experiments with the bones we have with us, and we can demonstrate several different methods of using it as an instrument.
So we can actually hear what it may have sounded like.
Absolutely.
For the first time in
1,500 years, maybe?
Amazing. The find is made from a metacarpal, the foot bone of a sheep, and Simon has pre-boiled a leg from the butcher's to soften the sinews, allowing him to cut off the meat.
This end should come off easier, and it will demonstrate that hole at the end, which is part of the artifact. And so that hole in the end is actually part of the structure of the bone rather than anything to do with...
So that happens naturally as part of the growth of the animal?
Absolutely, yeah.
Rather than it being something that's been drilled as part of the manufacture process.
Absolutely.
For the flute.
I guess it makes the job a bit easier.
It does, yeah. Next, we will need to drill our finger holes employing the same technology that was available at the time.
Working on the premise that this is either late Roman or Anglo-Saxon, and so we're going to try and do it with a bow drill.
Okay.
Go.
It's not too difficult, actually. It's quite easy to do, isn't it? As long as you've got the technique and the technology.
Yep.
Oh, yes. And then you have a little look.
Cool, look at that. Now that we have our finger holes, we need to investigate how the flute may have sounded. One way to create a note is by blowing it across the top.
The most simple form of wind instrument is known as an end-blowing flute, where you are blowing against the edge.
What, a bit like blowing across the top of a milk bottle or a bottle?
Absolutely,
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. It's easy to make, but hard to play.
Oh. So that's it, right? That is
Maybe.
now potentially an instrument.
As the simplest version, yes.
Go for it. Let's see this in action. Almost
But not,
there.
it hadn't got a proper tone. But what I could do is show you it with one that is almost the same, except slightly larger bone.
Yeah.
The end-blown flute does make a sound, but it isn't very loud. So Simon is going to show me some other ways this bone flute may have been played in the late Roman period.
They could have had a little duct like a modern-day recorder, which would look like this.
More familiar.
You've got a piece of wood that is cut at an angle, so it directs your breath exactly where you want, so it's not as hard to play.
The duct flute certainly produces a clearer sound, but there's one last way this instrument might have been played.
And it involves inserting a reed.
Okay.
I've cut a tiny notch, and if you look, it lifts up. And when you put it in your mouth, it vibrates.
Mhm.
So it's like a clarinet reed, held in place there, just simply with a little bit of beeswax.
So
you're going to encapsulate the reed and seal your lips, yep, and then blow hard. Lift a finger. Once you've lifted the top,
yes.
you can feel the vibration
Yeah,
in
I
your
can
mouth.
feel the vibration. I can see how it works. It's just amazing.
That was an amazing experiment. I'm amazed at how versatile this piece of bone could be. I can just imagine a shepherd playing music to his sheep in the late Roman or early Saxon period using a bone flute just like this.
Field archaeology brings evidence to light. Excavations reveal the physical traces of ancient lives. But then, analysis using the latest scientific techniques can help build an even more vivid picture of the past.
Modern archaeological sciences and conservation allow us to extract so much more information from sites now than we could in the past. We can see details that would have been overlooked, sometimes even destroyed. So when archaeologists came across a very high-status Iron Age burial with a strange lump in it that clearly contained metal, they knew that these precision techniques would be essential to untangling the mystery.
Our next story takes us to Herne Bay, just 10 miles north of Canterbury, where archaeologists were excavating a site before work could begin on a new housing development in this seaside town. They discovered a settlement and cemetery that dated all the way back to the Iron Age. Back in 2024, the archaeologists were using metal detectors on site and picked up strong signals from one grave. So it was clear that metal grave goods were present alongside these pots, and the archaeologists decided to block lift a whole segment and carried out an X-ray. The images revealed an incredible knot of metal items mingled with cremated human remains. Now, conservationist Dana Goodburn-Brown is carrying out a detailed micro-excavation. This process is like taking apart a very complicated puzzle, and Dana's keeping her eye out for tiny clues as she works on the block.
Like here, there is a structure like that.
Dana and her colleague, Marie Lassault, work for hours every day, peeling off layers of soil, deciphering this archaeological riddle. After 2 weeks, the grave goods are exposed for the first time in 2,000 years.
This is a big copper alloy scabbard. In the Iron Age, they had bronze scabbards for their iron swords. And we can see it sort of bends back here and comes up, bends down, comes around here and out to the other side of this. And then the iron sword seems to be beneath it.
Dana suspects the sword and scabbard might have been deliberately bent as part of an Iron Age funeral rite, where weapons would have been decommissioned or killed before being buried.
This decoration is on the scabbard, on the outer portion of the top bit here of the scabbard. It doesn't seem to follow all the way around, but it's just ever so beautiful and special. And this is on a weapon, but it's obviously, they cherished this and it was felt to be worthy of high status decoration.
Dana and Marie record every layer that they excavate, and they keep samples for analysis. Each tiny piece of information will tell us more about the items in this burial.
Say if I preserved textile or preserved leather, that's telling us that this person was laid to rest with either folded textiles or a leather bag, perhaps, that held the cremated remains. That's why it's so important why we're saving and labeling every little bit as we go down, because the scientists and other teammates might be able to help piece together the jigsaw from their specialism. Other people will maybe say something different about the soil and the plant, and pull out seeds that flowers were involved or something like that. So yeah, it's from that moment in time where the cremated bones are interred with objects that was felt important to go to the afterlife with this person.
Marie has found some delicate fragments of wood, which could have been part of a scabbard.
Taking them into this acid-free tissue paper, and then we will be able to bring it to the lab and look at it under microscope. So fingers crossed, these tiny fragments I collected can tell us a lot more. If that's really wood grain preserved in the corrosion, it could tell us about the way the scabbard was built. It's like an untold story that is slowly being revealed under your eyes, and is like a dialogue, a discussion with the past, and that's really the beauty of this work.
As Dana and Marie continue working, they encounter a problem. The scabbard can't be lifted without damaging the iron sword and cremated bone.
There's bones over here and bone there, but it's coming under. Oh.
But again, as the sword and the scabbard are bent, it could be that there was a gap under and the bones have slid under.
They can't risk excavating down any further, so they try a different approach.
Rather than trying to lift out the scabbard and the sword, I'm going to use polyurethane foam that expands that people use in buildings sometimes as insulation. So we're going to spray that all over and then put a board on top of that. We're going to put ratchet tape all around. This is the scary bit. We're going to flip it. And then we're going to excavate it from the other side.
By flipping over the block, it will be possible to safely unearth more of the artefacts.
We've been days at this, and really I don't feel very much closer to it. So if we turn it over, I'm hoping we can maybe find some of the missing elements that help us understand what was here.
The plan works. They can now excavate from the other side, safely revealing more precious items and preserving the bone fragments. Dana and Dan Worsley, who originally found the burial deposit, have brought the block into the tent to show me what they've discovered so far.
Dan, Dana, do we know when this dates to? Have you got an
We're
idea?
thinking at the moment about 30 BC through to 60 AD.
Late Iron Age into when actually the Romans arrive and we become
Yeah.
part of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
So you obviously came across this and decided to block lift it.
So it was part of a larger cremation. So there's 8 vessels that are surrounding this in the centre of it. And so once we'd excavated everything down to what we were comfortable dealing with in the field, we then decided to block lift.
Well, it's so complicated as well because everything's lying one on top of another, and you know, if you were to move something, you might damage the thing it's lying next to. So what can we see here then? We've got a vessel here.
So this is flipped.
Okay.
So we're under the grave. Imagine
We're underneath looking up.
Yeah. Because we've done one side and then we flipped it over. We've got a picture of the actual pit.
So Dan, show us what it looked like at excavation then. So yes, lots of vessels.
Yeah, so that's the vessel that's still attached to the block lift. So that was in the centre of a cremation cemetery with 14 other cremations, but they were all either unurned or single or 2 vessels per grave. Nothing compared to this.
So this is the richest one. Do you think it's a founder grave? You know, sometimes you get these kind of founder burials and then other burials placed around them.
So it's certainly a high status grave in that cemetery, and all the others were centred around it.
Yeah.
So
This is the sword we're looking at, is it?
Yeah. The handle of the hilt is here.
Yeah.
And it comes this way. And then it comes around there, and then it bends back here, then it bends down there.
So that's been deliberately bent?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the killing of the sword. So they
Yeah,
go into-
killing the sword. But that's as far as I
They
know
bent
about
it around, they bent it around again and then back on itself. Yeah. So the sword is iron or steel. Then what about this copper alloy? What's that?
That's the scabbard.
That's the scabbard.
Yeah.
So the sword is out of the scabbard as well.
they
So it's been
bent both
taken
of
out and both of them bent. Really strange, but fascinating.
Next time on Digging for Britain, a forgotten royal estate yields hidden treasures.
Never seen anything like it in my 30 years of digging.
In Fife, a Pictish stronghold
The best thing I've ever found on a dig, I've never found anything this cool,
reveals a chapter lost to history.
This site is incredible.
And Tory finds that Sunderland's industrial heritage
We've officially got our very first Roman coin.
goes back further than anyone thought.
The Romans were here.
God.